Well, hey again, everyone. It's Rob Ryder, and it's Tuesday, the 14th of January, 2025. And today, hey, Elon Musk, federal corporations are the United States. Not sure if you knew that or not. You may have heard that the United States is a corporation, and, you know, I'm going to disprove that. It isn't that it's a corporation like Coca-Cola, it's that these things called federal corporations are the United States. And there's a number of other things that are the United States, like departments and agencies and instrumentalities and so forth and so on. And I need to make sure that you understand the difference. The people that want to believe what they believe, I'm not trying to change their mind, but I would like to change yours because there's particular federal corporations that if they were doing what their charter tells them to do, then somebody like me, who is an indefinite enlistee of the Armed Forces of the United States, could go to these places and file charges and specifications into the system that's governed by the UCMJ instead of the system out here that's governed by uh, ecclesiastic priest of some kind, black robe priest. So, for instance, right, if the American Legion had filed with the states, every state, with their Secretary of State or whoever keeps the paperwork for, well, who's your registered agent? If you want to sue them, you're supposed to have a registered agent. You know about that stuff, Elon, right? They don't have one. They're supposed to have it. It's right in their charter, but they don't have one. Now, in Michigan, you can see where they used to have one, but they don't have one anymore. So what happened and why did it happen and, so forth and so on. But I'm just saying, if these things that already exist were working the way they would, then people like me, an enlistee veteran, could oversee them that would be like civil uh, officers executing the administration of the United States. And if somebody had a problem, like they're getting screwed by, the system, they could come to a veteran. And we could look into it and say, well, you know what, you're right. We could file something under the UCMJ and file a complaint. And that would keep the rogue agents in line. Now I can show you more about that. So I am Rutluski Robert Allen. My DOD ID number is 12112800006, and I am an indefinite enlistee, the Armed Forces of the United States, U.S. Army, by the way. Also known as Rob Ryder. My email address is courtofrecord@AOL.com, and you can find my videos and so forth on X and YouTube at Rob Ryder, ROBBBRYDER, with 3 B's, or Rumble with 2 B's. And of course, there's a story to that, but it's not for now. Okay, so what are we talking about? I think I have it here. So yeah, there it is. 2 USC 3002, right? 28 United States Code 3002, which is, definitions in this particular section of Title 28, which has to do with the judiciary. Where it says under 3002, subsection 15, right, United States means, it says it means a federal corporation, an agency, department, commission, board, or other entity of the United States, or an instrumentality of the United States. Now, Elon, there's people that will say that right there says the United States is a corporation. It's not, it's a corporation. It's like, Coca-Cola. But that isn't what it says. In fact, what it says, the United States means A, it's a federal corporation, B, it's an agency, department, commission, board, or other entity of the United States, or C, an instrumentality of the United States. All of those things are the United States. The United States is a metaphor for all of these things. Well, in this one here called the Federal Corporation are where these patriotic associations exist, like the VFW, like the American Legion, like the AMVETS. There's a number of them. And they all have a charter. And because they do, they're the United States. And they're supposed to be able to sue as the United States. Sue and be sued as the United States, because as we'll see, like in the American Legion, it's in their charter that their duty is to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Just the exact same as in the oath that I took it as an enlistment, oath of enlistment. And, well, what does it mean to enlist? It means to the act of making a contract to serve the government in a subordinate capacity, either in the Army or Navy, or to engage in public service by subscribing articles or enrolling one's name. Well, that's what we did. That's what enlistees did, Elon. Right, so I'm not talking about commissioned officers. Now, they got their own things to worry about. I'm talking about enlistees. And if you didn't know this, Elon, that in the military, um, NCOs are the backbone of the military. Right, we're the ones that make sure shit gets done because it's not commissioned officers. They're off to the frickin' officer club. That was when I was in. I don't know what they do now. But you know, no, it's the frickin' NCOs that are left there to make sure everything gets done. Everything's taken care of, sir. You can leave it with me. That kind of stuff. We're the doers. And we could be doing a hell of a lot more than we're doing now, except the administrative state doesn't allow us to do it because they make sure that places that we should be able to use our authority don't have their authority because they didn't follow the rules. Ain't that some shit? Let me show you exactly just a few things and we'll be done. Give me just a few seconds here. So here's, for instance, the Charter of the American Legion, National Constitution and Bylaws, which you can get online from the Legion website. So we should see what it says. We would find out that according to the United States Code, annotated in Title 36, Chapter 217, sections da-da-da, the American Legion, created by an act of Congress, Washington, D.C. on September 16, 1919. See, that makes them a federal corporation, and they have a charter. Now, if you're going to tell me the United States is a corporation, where's their charter and where's their corporate documents at? There isn't such a thing. So that isn't what they mean by the United States means a federal corporation. What they mean is the American Legion acts as the United States. Or it could if it had its paperwork done right. Administration's always a fucking problem, sir. You know how it goes, Elon, right? The job ain't over till the paperwork's done. And the paperwork hasn't been finished yet. But we could see that if it was, then the purpose of the corporation are to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. And other ones, but that's the very first one. And then it says who the membership is. And this used to have all these different time frames in there, like there were these peacetime periods where those people couldn't be in. So forth. I mean, I was, I served 8 years, but because of this one little period of time, or whatever it was they decided to put in there, I was able to get in. But other than that one little period, I would have not been, although I'd served 8 years, I wouldn't have been able to be a member of the Armed Forces or the American Legion. Well, they've changed that now. Now they say that from a period of 1917 through 1918, or anytime after December 7th, 1941. And that's because in 2019, then President Donald Trump and Congress signed into law the Legion Act, which basically says that we've been at war, the United States has been at war since 1941. We've had no periods of peace. It's one long continuous war. And why that's important, Elon, is because as an enlistee under Title 10, United States Code, Section 506. If I enlist during a war, or a war starts after I enlisted, I stay until that war is over. Well, that's why we're still in. We're indefinite enlistees. And we should have ID cards and so forth, but again, the administrative state's keeping us from getting that. And that's why I'm talking to you, brother, because you can just make a phone call, get all this shit straightened out, and I can be on my way and do what I and other veterans need to do. Because we got all sorts of powers. What are the powers? To do any act necessary proper to carry out the purpose of the corporation. Well, what's the purpose? To uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means we could file charges and specifications as the United States into the gold fringe flag jurisdiction, because the gold fringe flag is a symbol of the United States. It has anything to do with amity law. I don't know where people get this. The other crazy ass idea they got. Well, gold fringe flag is amity law. No, man, it's Army flag. That flag in a courtroom means that's a military courtroom. Right? That flag in an office means that office is under the military. It got nothing to do with admiralty. Like, admiralty law basically is supposed to be under Article 3 anyways. It's all military. We're under military jurisdiction because the Civil War never ended. And the martial law that Lincoln declared under General Order 141 has never been rescinded. Which I'll show in just a second, but let's just continue on with this. So let's go through the rest of this couple of pages of a charter. Then it says that exclusive right to name, right? The corporation, they're saying they're a corporation, and its state and local subdivisions have the exclusive right to use the name the American Legion or American Legion. Corporation has exclusive right to use, manufacture, control, the right to manufacture, and so forth and so on. Well, then we get down to here. As a condition to the exercise of any power or privilege granted by this chapter, the corporation shall file with the Secretary of State or other designated official of each state the name and address of an agent in the state on whom legal process or demands against corporation may be served. Just like Tesla's got. I'm sure you have to have an agent in every state, so that's what has to happen here. But they're not there. We don't have any. And that's a problem. So technically, the American Legion shouldn't even be making any emblems. They don't have any right to the name because they haven't done the thing they need to do before they can exercise any power or privilege granted by the chapter. It's a privilege to claim the name, the American Legion, and make a pin and sell it to somebody. So DOG, them. Find out what's going on, Elon. I mean, be nice to them. They're just a bunch of old veterans. They don't know any better. They're just doing what they were told. It's, that's what we got to. Everybody does it by tradition instead of doing it by the book. And we need to get back to doing it by the book, or the tradition's going to kill us. Or the precedence. I won't say it's a tradition, it's a precedence. The tradition will be do it the right way. From the very beginning, it was done properly, and then something happened. You know what it was? Esquires. They got involved. One last thing on the powers then. It has the sue and, one of the powers is sue and be sued. Well, if you're going to be sue and be sued, and you're a federal corporation, you're going to be doing it as the United States. Now, where does the United States sue and be sued at? Well, let's look at something here. Where are you? Oh, hang on a second. So, typically what you think of as a federal court, when you go there, the plaintiff is the United States of America. It's not the United States. It's plainly there. United States of America against Stephen K. Bannon. United States District Court for the District of Columbia. No, it's not a mistake, because here's from the United States District Court, Middle District of Florida. United States of America versus Jeremy Brown. A master sergeant from the Special Forces has been sitting in jail there for fucking 3 years or whatever it is now. Because of January 6th bullshit. So this is the wrong jurisdiction. This is the Esquire jurisdiction. We do not go here. Where the United States does their business is under the UCMJ. Because if you go look at a U.S. Army Court of Criminal Appeals, say, let's look at a memorandum of opinion or opinion of the court, something like that, see what it looks like. Who's the plaintiff or the appellee in this case, right? The plaintiff to start with. It's the United States. It doesn't say United States of America. Right? United States. United States, United States, United States. The United States takes its business to the military. It doesn't go to the fucking federal courts of the United States of America. And so in this court where the United States is the plaintiff, you'll see there's a gold fringe flag. Oh, I thought that was an admiralty flag. No, it's not. It's a military flag. Or it's a military style of the flag of our nation, which is covered under an Army regulation. Which, of course, I had to look at. It's Army Regulation 840-10. Flags, guidons, and so forth. Wherein it says, the very first chapter, first page, that the unauthorized use of official flags, there's no law that prevents the sale, loan, or donation of flags, guidons, or streamers to individuals or organizations not in the military, except as indicated 1 and 2. Right? Educational institutions or retired general officers. They're the ones that can have it. When we get off farther, we're going to see when we get into chapter 2 here, where it's going to be talking about the flag of the United States. Well, I thought the United States was a corporation. Is that the flag of Coca-Cola? No, it's the flag of the United States. That's a symbol of our nation. The flag of the United States is a symbol of our nation. Can we just say, well, that's what it is? It's a symbol of our nation. Apparently, the United States is a nation. Apparently, the United States is really a metaphor used for many different things, and I choose to use it for the ones I want to. So let's see, if we go down here, we look to see on 2-3, sizes, occasions for display, and we'll tell you that the national flags listed below are for indoor display and used in ceremonies and parades. For the purpose, the flag of the United States will be on rayon banner cloth, heavyweight nylon, trimmed on 3 sides, yellow gold fringe, 2 1/2 inches wide. Where can you fly that sucker? Well, we got authorized for indoor display. The flag of the United States is authorized for indoor display at each flank, and we'll get into those. But these are the places it is. So any other place it would be unauthorized. So if you see it, it had better be one of these. You got office headquarters, you got organization battalion size, you got military offices, now otherwise authorized. You got military courtrooms. You got U.S. element, joint commands, do. They can have a gold fringe flag. What does it mean then when you go to a county commissioner meeting and there's a gold fringe flag? Or the township hall, they'll have a gold fringe flag. Or you're going to go to court, they're going to have a gold fringe flag. Apparently, they're all under military control because we do not have a constitutional government. Ever since Lincoln proclaimed in General Order 141 that the writ of habeas corpus is suspended in respect to all persons arrested or who are now or hereafter during the rebellion shall be imprisoned in any fort, camp, arsenal, military prison, other place of confinement. I read the wrong one first. Let's go back to the beginning. It's actually in the first one. That during the existing insurrection, and as necessary measure for suppressing the same, all rebels and insurgents, their aiders and abettors within the United States, and all persons discouraging voluntary enlistments, resisting military drafts, or guilty of any disloyal practice, afforded aid and comfort to the rebels against the authority of the United States, shall be subject to martial law and liable to trial and punishment by court-martial or military commission. Okay, well, what did we just see about a military court? Let's take a look. Let's see what happens in a military courtroom. Let's look at a military judge. Image is a military judge, and what do we see? We see that when they're in the courtroom, they wear a black robe, and they sit in a room that's got a gold fringe flag. Now, why, of course, now this guy's doing, oh, he's a character. He's doing some movie. It was back in the day. That was back before they made it. So the judges now are not just, a commissioned officer. They have to be members of the Judge Advocate General's office. And they wear black robes just like they do in a civilian court, and they got a gold fringe flag just like they do in a civilian court. So apparently what we think of as civilian courts are really some form of military court. Either a military court-martial court or a military commission of some kind. And the real problem is that these folks are supposed to be attorneys that are licensed in their state, which means they actually taken the oath of an attorney, which there is such a thing, and they've got it filed, recorded, and so forth. And well, they don't. They're Esquires. They're just impersonating being lawyers. And so now you have a person impersonating being a lawyer, impersonating being a military judge. So it's a problem with being an Esquire. And that's what we have to clean out of the frickin' military. You're going to get rid of the woke. No, you need to get rid of the Esquires and the woke. And have the frickin' officers in charge be the court martial and use common sense and court martial some people. But if there is one difference, when the Esquire becomes a commissioned officer, he takes an oath to support the Constitution of the United States, support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And so he is a military officer who's been trained to be an attorney, but he's a military officer handling a court martial. So he's really not doing it as an attorney or as a esquire. He's doing it as a commissioned officer assigned a task to handle a court martial because of his training. So on the court martial side, they should do it properly, even though they're only an esquire. But you get into the civilian side where people like Bannon and so forth go, well, then people are all just impersonating constitutional officers, right? They're all claiming an office under the 6th Article of the Constitution, where we can see in the 6th Article of the Constitution, according to the U.S. Senate, that the senators, representatives before mentioned, and members of several state legislatures, and all, ALL, all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification of any office or public trust under the United States. Well, isn't that nice? But what it doesn't tell you is that the very first law passed after the ratification of that Constitution and made a law of the United States, which is the supreme law of the land according to the Constitution, is commonly called 1 Stat 23. It is from an act to regulate time and manner of administering certain oaths signed into law by George Washington on June 1st, 1789, where it says the oath or affirmation required by the 6th Article of the Constitution of the United States shall be administered in the form following. I state your name, do solemnly swear or affirm I will support the Constitution of the United States, period. And so help me God at the end. There's a place to put your name in, so you have to identify yourself. Right, so you have to say this. You really can't have it given to you. You know, I state your name is how they do it for enlistees, right? I, Robert Allen Orlowski, and we all continue on after that. But they stop and have you say your name. Well, that's not what they're doing anymore. They don't do this oath at all. And then the clerk of the House of Representatives and the Secretary of the Senate, they're supposed to take this, and then they're supposed to go to this other page and do another oath that's especially for them in Section 5, and none of this shit gets done. We don't have a constitutional government. We have a military government run since the Civil War because apparently they liked it that way. The governors didn't want to give back the power. Once they got martial law power, they didn't want to give it back. They're not just a governor. They're a commander-in-chief. And they like to have that authority over the people in their constituency in case they may have some axes to grind. It's never been given back, and everything's a farce ever since. And so we don't really have a Congress. We have people impersonating being a Congress. And them's the people. Them's the people that could be taken under the UCMJ punitive articles section because they're sitting in rooms with a gold fringe flag. They're under the military's jurisdiction. They are subject to the UCMJ. I'm subject to the UCMJ. Elon Musk, you're subject to the UCMJ. You are because you got a business, or you're in the field with the military. And then for somebody like me, it could say, where are you? Individuals belonging... No. B, the voluntary enlistment of any person who has the capacity to understand the significance of enlisting in the armed forces shall be valid for purposes of jurisdiction under this subsection, and a change in status from civilian to a member of the armed forces shall be effective upon taking the oath of enlistment, which I did. I've never rescinded it. The Army the United States is still at war. Every enlistee is still subject to the UCMJ. And because we're subject to it, we should be able to file charges and specifications. Article 30, charges and specifications may be preferred only by a person subject to this chapter. You have to be subject to the UCMJ to file charges and specifications. It says so in the UCMJ. And it also says it in the Military Commissions Act. Right? The only people that can file charges and specifications are people who are subject to the UCMJ. And so they're keeping people like me, Elon, from using our authority. Because if we had just that little bit of authority to file specifications and charges, or charge specifications, knowing what we know now, not as a dumbass private we were back in the day, but we're a lot wiser now than we were back then. I'm just saying that's where the action is. It's through the military. Right? Here's the punitive articles. You just say it's conspiracy. That's good enough. That's your charge. What's your specification? Well, they did whatever they did. False official statements, false swearing, spies, espionage, aiding. Did you know that according to the DoD Law of War Manual, Elon, that one of the first traits of identifying a spy is somebody who does not identify themselves with their full legal name. In other words, they use a middle initial. Right? You're going to go someplace to identify yourself, like on an oath or some other official document. You have to use your full legal name. If you don't, well, then you're a spy in the military. And what do we got here? Frauds against the United States. Well, that's what we're dealing with now, is a fraud against the United States. Because the federal chartered corporations that should have the power that they have are not exercising the powers that they could because they haven't done the thing they did. And that's a fraud against the United States. The United States gave them that power to be the United States, and they're not using it. So as far as I'm concerned, we could take the American Legion to court-martial court. But they won't acknowledge an old veteran like myself, Elon, so I need somebody from a different angle to put a little pressure on them to get the American Legion and these other entities to file their fucking paperwork. To get soon-to-be Secretary of Defense Hegslip to get me my military ID. Did you know that the military ID that they issue now is it violates the Geneva Convention, for God's sakes? It has to have the person's date of birth on it, and it's not on there. I mean, there's all sorts of things that the administrator's done wrong, and the way to fix it is to quit trying to go to these fake courts that are under the people that are pretending to be the Congress, and go to the only courts where the people that are there have taken the oath they're supposed to take to be there. And, try them in a proper court of the United States, which is, at this point, under martial law. So it's a military court. And that can't change until Article 2 of the Labor Code is satisfied. General Orders 100, the Labor Code, right? This is also from Lincoln. Obviously, before 141, he had already put this in. And it says that martial law does not cease during the hostile occupation except by special proclamation ordered by the Commander-in-Chief or special mention in a treaty of peace concluding the war when the occupation of place or territory continues beyond the conclusion of the peace as one of the conditions of the same. Well, apparently the occupation continues because all these places throughout the United States have gold-fringed flags. So the occupation continues. And so martial law is not ended, and we're under martial law, and we should use it to our advantage, those of us that are subject to the UCMJ, for the benefit of everybody else. And quit listening to Esquires and go talk to somebody who has general court-martial convening authority and file some charges and specifications. So more on that some other day. But Elon, that's where we are, right? You need to understand that while federal corporations are the United States, so are many other things like agencies, instrumentalities, departments, What the United States is not is the United States is not a corporation like Coca-Cola. If you're going to say it is, you have to provide the proof by showing me the corporate documents that have been filed. Because without those, you're not a corporation. Very good. Okay, I'll leave it there. And go get them, Elon. Go tell the American Legion to file their paperwork, get all that stuff straightened out so that we veterans can come in and oversee the streamlined federal government that you're going to help implement to make sure that those that are there are doing what it says to do in the law. That's what we're supposed to be doing until I'm released, and that hasn't happened yet. So, okay, you all have a great day, and we'll see what happens next.